Okay, you're good to go.
All right, so at this point, I'd like to go ahead and call the meeting to order. So for our third meeting, 8 October 2025, we have three members missing for today, but we'll go ahead and go with our roll call.
Yes, so Vice Chair Fred Donkey,
Present.
and just for the purposes of the meeting, Mr. Donkey will go ahead and chair the meeting today as chair. Member Stan Green,
Here.
member Michael Hardaway,
Here.
member Stephen Page,
Here.
member Mike Piper,
Here.
member Thomas Scott Raya,
Here.
member Chris Shaw,
Here.
and member Elizabeth Raya.
All right, so this time we'll open up for oral communications. There's the opportunity to address the Porterville Municipal Airport Committee on any scheduled matter. Unless additional time is authorized by the committee, all commentary shall be limited to 3 minutes per individual, no more than 15 minutes. Any takers? All right, so we'll move on to scheduled matters. First one is the review of the master ground lease agreement. We've had a couple of previous discussions on this, and the document was itself emails to all the members. Everybody get an agenda, by the way, sure. At this point, I'll go ahead and open up for comments on the review. Anybody want to start?
Chair, just before we get into it, I just want to add a little bit of commentary. Pertaining to the attachments that were on the item, again, this is just the further review and discussion on the ground lease agreement. I know the agreement itself is a bit of a hot ticket item, kind of important thing to kind of get out of the, get into the weeds of, so we can start getting that taken care of. The comments that were provided were from Ms. Groves. She provided comments, as well as Mrs. Shaw, who also provided comments. And I believe we're just really opening it up to all the other committee members to see if there's any other, instances that they see that they want to, get clarification for, revisions on. Typically, what would happen is we would basically get all those comments, put them together, give those comments to the appropriate staff so we can get more information and clarification. Obviously, because it is a lease agreement, we will have to go through our legal counsel to review a lot of this information to see, legally what are we able to do and whatnot. But that's more or less the ever evolving conversation around the lease agreement. So right now, we're still just awaiting more further comments from the committee, so that way we can further, go into the weeds with it with our staff and appropriate individuals for that. So just wanted to give that commentary before we get into the further discussion.
All right, so does anybody have any particular part of the proposed lease agreement they would like to discuss or add their comments on? No takers?
No, I submitted my stuff, so.
Okay, so your review is in there. I would just like to put on the record that the requirement, which was relayed to me as non-standard for the $2 million liability, which was a weird policy. For example, my primary insurance would not continue to insure me if there was a city levy required to take their $1 million standard policy to $2 million liability. So that is a weird non-standard in their common law. This is strange. What is different about your airport driving this requirement?
So just for some context, again, this is something that we would have to take back, because the RMA that we go through, the Central San Valley RMA, they are the.
What is an RMA?
So our RMA that we go through is basically just a pool of agencies that pull their resources together to have this RMA, and any kind of insurances that we go through that. They're the ones that make the recommendations and have this
Non-binding recommendation, or what they say is policy?
It's recommended through them. I don't know how much of that recommendation we're able to change based off of whatever it is. They're actually, so from my understanding, and again, this is just from what I've heard. And we would have to go into it more in detail with them and find out what are the differences as far as maybe our airport compared to other airports within
So I-
the state.
I provided to the city the quote, my current
Yeah.
policy, and then the revised policy,
Correct.
which is aviation non-standard, right? From the Aviation Authority,
Mhm.
AOPA.
Yeah.
This is a national group. The third partner is their partnership that they go out and seek to find AOPA members affordable aviation insurance. And based on their assessment of aviation risks, as the national experts on it, they deem it to be out of the norm. If you guys are getting advice from, I'm not sure what kind of aviation expertise that group has. I'm guessing RMA is risk management agency.
Association.
So the big piece about aviation risk management, you don't do it in your insurance policy. You do it in the things that you do every day. Because the after the accident, if you wait for after the accident, you get it too long. Because typically you're talking about things that are life or death, right? So risk management is something you do in everything you do. You think about it every day. It's how you park the airplane. It's how you open your hangar door. It's how you put on your seatbelt, how you run the checklist. And those are the weird things about aviation. Sometimes it's strange to outside groups, but there's a reason for the weird things that aviators do, right? And so risk management to us, it's operational risk management. You do it every day. You don't wait for your insurance policy to, ask you, or you're not letting your insurance policy do your risk management for you. It's part of your everyday activities. That's just a strange one. I don't know if anybody else had an issue with the insurance.
And I don't know if you can get a hold of RMA and have them get a hold of someone from AOPA and discuss with them, because they're basically like the national standard.
Well, according to, again, this is just, I'm not an expert in that either as well, but from what from my understanding was that the 2 million is just not, it doesn't cover what would be the, modern time money right now. I guess the leases that they were on for 30 years, 40 years were the 1 million, but apparently 1 million isn't covering it anymore for the associated risk on airfield.
I don't think that was covered in any of the original leases. That's just what the insurance standard is. Like I rented a place in Tehachapi before. There wasn't a requirement for me to carry any liability insurance. Right? It was just a policy of the airplane. It just said you carry a policy.
Yeah.
And we did.
Yeah, and again, this predates me. I'm not sure how that actually got in the lease agreement. Again, this is just something that we would have to provide comment to for the staff so that way they can look into it further and find out, what is it that what are we getting this number from, and what type of assessment are they doing on their side? So it is a good conversation to have to get more information on. But we can definitely take that back to just that.
So I even think if I saw you as $1 million.
So, Fernando, the RMA that Porterville's in, how big is it? What does it cover?
Oh, that's a very good question. I want to say it's it's the central San Joaquin Valley, so it's more of the inner, let's say, going towards Fresno, a little bit towards the Bakersfield area.
So in that area, how many city-owned airports are there for the small cities of, let's say, Porterville size and in general environs?
I wouldn't be able to tell you that, unfortunately. I'm sure.
It would be kind of nice to have the apples to compare the apples with. Because we could be comparing ourselves to what is required at Fresno, at FAT or Meadows Bakersfield instead of Exeter or Visalia or any of the others.
And then there's different types of operations, right? Business, corporate, commercial, private. And if you go into a different airport where they're doing corporate, right, they're completely different. That might be.
Yeah, because their exposure would be more, right? People coming in and out of a private hangar would not be few and far between, except for just the owner. So the owner, I guess, if he gets hurt, he tries to sue the city.
There's 1,000 what ifs, right? So go over all of them. I think your suggestion was really, I took that as a good point to have. I'm sorry, what was the
AOPA.
AOPA? And have them contact our RMA and let them see what comes out of that, because I mean, we've been talking about this for 3 months already, right?
Yeah.
We're not getting anywhere. We're spinning our wheels. Pardon me?
And they're the specialists.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
they have a whole wing.
yeah,
The
you know, let's
partners.
let's go to the horse's mouth.
We can take those comments into consideration and reach out to staff and see if we can get a conversation going.
So this was one of your items of concern, Fred, on this list of the
Yeah,
punch list, okay.
I think that is one that's unique because my current insurer made it clear to me that they would not continue my policy.
Right, so 2 million. Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. I was gonna clarify that, ask Fred to clarify that, because I think that's what I assumed. You insure, your plane is insured differently than the property you're building. So you have.
And they're each a
So you
million.
got $1 million and $1 million. So,
Is that some type of an umbrella coverage? I've heard that term before, umbrella
You-
coverage.
Yeah, so on
yeah,
the certificate, so you can have your general amount, which is, right, I mean, I want to say for most people, it's probably gonna be $1 million, what they have right now. And then you have your umbrella. Now technically your umbrella is an excess coverage. So if you have a 1 and then a 1, you already meet that criteria.
Well, and there's
And
another,
then there's a per occurrence thing where it's per occurrence, and then you have your aggregate as well, which is, essentially within that 1 year time frame that of your policy, you have like a certain, that you can't go over that certain amount. But even through, I mean, you can have a $1 million general per occurrence coverage, but as long as you have an excess umbrella liability of 1,000 or so, you meet that criteria to have that 2 million threshold.
yeah, there's another caveat there, where the one that got the quote for the 2 million, it was still 1 million. per event.
That's what I saw that, and I was.
So it was still only $1 million per event.
yeah.
Yes,
Per event.
per event,
Oh, yeah.
right? So if something happens, it's
Oh,
still
yeah.
only $1 million policy. The other 2 million is. or the
I had
other
to read
1 million
it
for a second
twice
event.
because I wasn't really sure. I was like, wait, where's this saying this at? But so
And she let me know- and she let me know that too. I was like, wow, this is like, the more we read into it, the stranger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fernando, do you want their phone number?
yeah,
It's 1-800-872-2672. I think that's just their main line.
their main line. I'm sure someone from our RMA can. Yeah, so I think from now until our next meeting, we should be able to at least have some way more information on how that is being addressed. As of right now, it's just more of just trying to get that information from you guys right now and see where we're at.
Anybody else have any other parts they want to add?
If somebody is addressing Brianna's, what she submitted last time, is somebody looking at?
So we're trying to get everything all together.
This, Fernando?
Yeah, so it's that right there.
And what about the one I submitted that I thought you were gonna have printed copies for people?
Yeah, I did, sorry.
Yeah. I had submitted one and it was in format that nobody could read. It was in hieroglyphs, so I resaved it. Sorry.
It was in crayon.
It was encrypted. It was in crayon.
I looked at it and I was like, I don't think we can read this, but.
Finger paint.
And that was my mistake. I should have attached this to the agenda packet so you had ample time to read it beforehand. But it was a. I forgot.
I only said it because so that, you know, they're keeping.
No, yeah,
Only
this
one,
is
and maybe they
more-
might look at my
yeah.
numbers, you know, stuff here that's not too good, but I didn't mark it up like Brianna did. 'Cause I don't-
That's all right. Pardon me.
Chris, could you clarify number 9?
I'll try.
Utility.
Yeah. Probably in the, only the city's proposing here, most of these. Utilities used herein shall include, but is not limited to telephone, electrical, water, sewer, gas, chemical, heating and cooling, trash and refuse disposal service. So is this what, I think what I'm asking here, is this something that, the city's gonna require that they have all that stuff there? Have trash pickup services?
I think it's only requiring you to pay for, but it uses meaning, you say. Which means if you don't have trash pickup, you don't have to pay for it.
Anybody want to add any additional comments to those that provided by Chris?
I think Brianna was pretty thorough.
She was, I think she kind of captured a lot of what was said in the previous meeting.
So you read it as number 9, doesn't mean you have to have these items.
Right. It's whatever you utilize, you have to pay for.
Okay.
No. Yeah, talking about number 18. It is kind of a. That is an ambiguity because the landing area implies the aviation use part of the airport and the flight use. And the FAA is gonna have a big say in what happens there. The city is not going to have that big a say. So land area is what I think they really mean in that clause.
Yeah, so they probably should change that.
Yep.
Lands with, rather than land area, that's not.
Land, when you got a crop of wild oats or garbanzo beans, that's land area. Landing area is on the runway. Ideally, yes.
I'm good.
Any other takers? Ready to move on to the next item?
Okay, so so really quick, so based off of the comments that were provided by both Mr. Shaw and Ms. Groves, along with Mr. Donke's comments as well, is it the consensus of the committee to go ahead and have staff to pretty much just get all these comments, put them together and have it reviewed by all the appropriate staff members so that way they can further review it, look into it, have maybe legal look over this as well for their input, and then come back with potentially a revised draft lease agreement for the committee to review again? I just want to make sure that that is the consensus of the committee.
Move the ball forward.
Would it be appropriate for the comments that come back to have a source? So we know who to speak to and who to get clarification
I
from?
think, so you mean like a staff member here and present?
Or just.
Just cite it on the document. Hey, Julia said this, or Mr. Tree said this, or Parks and Recreation said this.
Okay, we could probably, I believe we can probably put some staff comments together. pertaining to-
So we can know where the feedback's coming from.
Yeah, and if needed, if staff is available for those particulars as well, we can probably arrange for that too. I don't wanna, nobody's here, so I can't really say if their schedules are available, but we can look at that.
Awesome. Okay, so at this point, we'll go ahead, thank you, Fernando. We'll go ahead and move on to number 2. Discussion on allowing non-aviation businesses on the airport property. Replied, discussion regarding whether non-aviation business should be permitted to operate at the Porterville Municipal Airport. So I think that one is beyond the scope of this committee. And I can share scenarios from other places where the FAA wrote a city council letter telling them to stop doing exactly this. And there's a couple of newspaper articles on it, but it's not, we don't have the ability or the authority to tell. It's an FAA requirement that the airport be used for aviation purposes unless something that you'd have to go ask them for approval.
That requirement, does that come from the fact the airport gets some money from the FAA?
Typically, it's correct.
Okay.
Like,
I'm not sure if Fred does FAA have jurisdiction over out there, like, there's all those businesses that are out there outside of the air, the runway and everything's on that side, and is that all under the scope of?
That part, the industrial park is not,
Is not.
but I think everything inside the fence.
Okay.
Probably the only thing about that is if one of those businesses was to erect a tall tower or something like that.
Yeah.
There's gonna be
There is
that's the only thing I think they would come in and say.
What he's talking about is terps. So there's a requirement for the runway in order to enable an airplane to climb away and descend into the airfield, that you cannot start building high rises or things like that.
Okay, sure.
So
Yeah.
there's going to be a climb gradient, 152 feet per nautical mile out to a certain distance from the airport. And it's a bowl shape. It's that whole thing is spelled out in that city policy. But the grants, if you take a grant, typically the FAA wants you to comply with their policy, and they want to ensure that they enable aviation. Because other
Operate
businesses,
safely and.
other businesses will quickly find, it's incredibly affordable to take over. At this other city that I was a part of, the city had itself put their own fire engines into hangars, and they were no longer leasing the hangars to airplane owners. So the FAA came, did an ad hoc inspection, and found, hey, you need to get those fire trucks out. That hangar needs to go back to having an airplane in it. And it applies to us, but it also applies to anyone else.
And I also think safety wise, you bring businesses in, they bring employees in, next thing you know, they're crossing runways and, not understanding that, there are rules you gotta follow. And you get these guys that aren't aware of that, and they're just like, oh, let's go drive down to the end of the runway and watch this plane come in. And they're sitting on a taxiway.
Turkeys that got out of the fence, they're just everywhere.
So I think it's a big safety issue also. It could be a safety issue.
Yeah, there's definitely a safety issue, and we would be driven out pretty quickly because the the hangars are incredibly affordable by storage standards for other places, right?
So this item is really for the FFA, right?
FAA, yeah, we would have to make a request to them and then it would have to be approved by them to say, okay, we'll let you guys do some non-aviation related thing on the airfield, but odds are they would say, well, just cut that part of the airfield out, move the fence, make sure they're outside, they don't have access to the runway, security is an issue. But like Steve said, most of these accidents are just people didn't know. They didn't know that they shouldn't be outside, and it might be a kid that rocks and a jet comes by and sucks all the rocks. You're talking.
Yeah, strong.
I'm gonna assume that food service like Airway Cafe is an aviation related business.
That's, and she's outside the fence.
Hmm?
She's outside the fence.
Okay.
And,
So, go ahead, sir.
so looking at the scheduled matters, it's saying here, discuss regarding whether non-aviation businesses should be permitted to operate. I don't think we're quite discussing that. I mean, we're discussing the pros and cons of it, so.
Basically, this is anything inside the fence.
Inside the fence has got to be aviation related, right?
So I
So
think
aircraft maintenance, production, or
related to
modification.
aviation, yeah.
Anything like his business. Like that's the thing you gotta have in there.
What they don't want is, storage for furniture, files, vehicles,
Electric buses.
buses.
You just gotta have an airplane in the hangar.
Yeah.
Right, as long as you got an airplane in the hangar, I think that you meet the intent of, hey, you're using it for aviation businesses. And there isn't anything crazy going on related.
So maybe the discussion is, do we continue allowing hangars to be used for storage and
As long as you
other
got an airplane, as
businesses?
long as you got an
As long as there's
airplane,
Okay.
or an aviation related thing.
The airplane, as long as it's airworthy, also has to be certified.
It doesn't have to be
It has to be
airworthy.
certified.
We're certified.
We're certified.
He's not certified.
So is there anyone that makes periodic checks to see who's storing what in some of the hangars? Anybody?
Typically what happens is somebody calls.
The answer is no.
There isn't, but somebody calls in a violation and then they come. That's how it happens.
Okay.
Physically, I have been out and about and I have been asking, hey, what are you storing there? Yes, I have.
Or somebody's approached you and say, hey, I just thought.
Yes, it happens. Yes, sir.
Do you
Not
know
all-
who has airplanes and who doesn't
I
have
do.
They
airplanes?
got chicken stored now.
So if you come look in my hangar, my airplane's in
Light
there,
of day and probably.
but there's a
20
vehicle
years.
in there.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of my wife's art stuff in
Sure.
there, right? Cause it all fits under the airplane, but it's being used, the primary purpose is.
Right.
There's a registered airplane. Like Aquaticers, how many airplanes do you own, sir? 50?
We own a few.
He's got an airplane for every hangar.
But the deal, we have airplanes for every hangar. But they might not all be, we have 6 in one right now. Now, we move them around, so might not have any in, I know I don't have any in a couple right now. But that's what they're made, you know.
Yeah.
And you know,
And then I still, you know,
Bought those.
Yeah.
yeah.
Now the renting of the hangar, even though they're not city owned, I'm just clearing this from my head, right, for myself. So hangars that are on airport property, owned by other individuals, not the city. When they are leased, are they leasing to aviation related VCs or is it just for anybody really to,
They should be rated.
right? It should be,
In theory,
right?
They should be. If I'm leasing my hangar to him, it should have an airplane part. So, I mean, it could be the airplane, aviation related, right? Airplane parts is aviation related, like the lady who sold with the Falcon Air, they didn't own an airplane. They made it, sold airplane parts. The original lease agreement that was proposed when this whole thing started, they were on the airport for 40 years, but they would not have qualified to be on the airport because by the definitions, having to own an airplane is not required. It's just, are you doing aviation?
They were like that deal, right? Where they
Yeah,
repair, their repairs.
yeah,
But where they run into a big problem is some of these airports have waiting lists of years. We have no waiting list here.
Right.
I mean, there's no airplane sitting outside. There isn't a waiting list. Now, I know other places there is, and that's where they really crack down on them, so. I mean, I don't.
But I don't think we have a waiting list because people in times past, when they called, they've been told, no, we don't have any room. But meanwhile, there is room.
Yeah.
And so they keep hearing that. So it's like, okay, don't ever go to Porterville. Porterville doesn't have any room. There is room at Porterville right now. I've got a guy that was a prospective customer that said, hey, I tried to get a hangar in Porterville. And they said, they told me there was no room. I'm like, there is room.
Who told them?
They called the city of Porterville, the main 782, 7540, or physically went into the office and was told there is no room.
Usually every time you call, tell me, we find something for them.
Right.
I mean, that's not.
Who in the world?
Yeah, I called you before. I've had people call.
Say again?
Open hangar down there now.
Say again, Stan?
Who in the world here would have told them that?
I don't think it's here downtown. It's physically at the airport, whoever answers the phone at the airport.
Oh, okay.
And they're probably giving them an answer because they don't know what their inventory is
Yeah.
of available hangars. Whether it be the city-owned hangars that they will rent, or whether it be my Aquatiker that could have
an
something
extra
rent.
hangar or whatever.
Yeah. So meanwhile, when this gentleman was asking, it's not the first time, but when they've asked, hey, you have a place for a hangar, to store a hangar, and they're being told no. There is a hangar that's available, but they tell them no anyways, and I don't understand why they're doing that. And so it just still sounds like the city doesn't know what hangars they have
The
available.
left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing.
Or no, the left hand doesn't even know what the left hand's doing. I mean that, I'm
And-
being that.
The airplane employees, do they know? You know,
Say again?
if they were to fly in there and talk to one of the three guys that work down there, would they know to say, oh, go down to the city and contact whoever? Do they even know that? They probably don't.
They probably say, well, go into the office
They
and
will
talk
refer
to.
to me.
Yeah.
Initially, before this committee was formed, I believe there was, and after the city hall meeting where the new rates were shown to the public. After that meeting, we basically were holding off on trying to rent new hangars until this whole rate issue got cleared up.
Yeah, you still
But this-
have,
but
you
this
don't even have a
committee-
lease for your own stuff.
Right. But like I said, when this committee got formed, that's what we're doing. After the committee has been formed, we're still waiting to clarify all these rate issues so that we continue to rent
So that-
hangars.
And I
We
think,
don't,
yeah, go ahead.
we don't want to get into or lease, any more property because we'll get into a 10, 15-year lease at a rate that we're not comfortable with as a city because we're looking at increasing the rates.
And I think that's the key, right? So places that are competitive and are attractive, they have massive waiting lists. Because people will drive the extra distance to fill that. And the challenge for us is Ecker is abandoned. It's empty. You can go through there now. Ecker, yeah.
Is that Strathmore or,
Yeah,
Right.
straight.
Strathmore is empty. You go over to Exeter, they have an airfield, their hangars are empty. You go over to Woodlake, there's empty space there. You go over to Sequoia, complete airport, only the sheriff is in there. You can rent a hangar in there for nothing. That's the challenge. Because when there's so much space and all of a sudden we go to 80 cents like it was proposed, our airport would have died. And that would have been the end of, the fact that there isn't a list for as nice of a facility that we have says that there's something not competitive about Porterville that we could really, if we figure out what that is, right, put it out and start communicating so that everybody knows when somebody calls, there is a hangar. He knows,
Yeah.
right? Talk to him. He's the man. He'll get you a hangar. The city is going to help you. The city's on your side. And that's going to start getting people in here because so many other places.
Yeah, and if there's no communication, when somebody calls and says, hey, you got a hangar, no, we don't. If there's no communication, people just don't know.
But to bring it back down to the basic level, it's not leasing a hangar. It's just simply the city renting a hangar that they own, that they have availability. So when somebody calls up and says, hey, I'd like to hangar my airplane, or do you have any openings? And they say, no, you do have openings. Why not say, okay, you know what? $350 a month for that hangar space that we have. And that's not even doing that. That has nothing to do with leases. That has zero to do with leases. That has to do with rent and saying, hey, let's put, so if you're just like, okay, well, what kind of rent value do we put on a hangar until we figure out all this lease stuff? Well, what are you charging rent for the hangars that you're renting already? Okay, we're charging that guy $300. Okay, hey, sir, that called in, hey, $300.
I mean, if I.
Are you guys even aware that you have hangars there?
Yeah.
Or that are empty?
Yeah, we're aware.
Okay.
Yeah, we're cleaning them out. There's some people.
Well, there's some that are already,
Yeah.
that's already cleaned out.
Yeah, there are people that
Okay.
have cleaned out everything. So there are hangers out there. I just want to make sure that whatever amount we put out there as far as charging a person that's coming in wanting to rent a new hangar is not going to get everybody, you know, up in a, up.
Well, what you do on that,
I'd like to have something, you know, a fee schedule that's been printed and put out. So that way we can refer to it and not say, oh, no, Albert just said $350. I don't want
so
to.
why don't you go back to the people that are already in those hangars and take, okay, this person. The culture hangars, hey, we have 5 occupants in there and each one's paying $300. So a new person wants to come in, you either charge them $300 and say, hey, you're on a month to month, and we can kick you out. We're letting you know you're on a month to month and we can kick you out for $300. And once we get this thing all situated and figured out, the rate will be higher, it will be lower. But the simple fact of getting an airplane in there, so you quit getting the reputation that nothing is available.
Mhm.
And then if you don't want to rent your guys' hangars, they call over to Mike and say, hey, Mike, do you have any room? And give Mike the opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
And if Mike can stuff 4 or 5 airplanes in one hangar to clear up another hangar, then he should be able to do that.
Yeah, and he knows it. He's been called by me. I called him and gave him numbers of people wanting hangars. I mean, there's nothing stopping Mike from renting his hangar.
True.
I just want to have a rate that's been posted and everybody's aware of it. It's not.
Yeah, it's just a free for all.
Right.
So what does that have to do with waiting for the leases? To post that rate, what does that have to do? You're waiting for the lease.
The rates.
For the city hangars, not, yeah.
Yeah, so why not rent the city hangars? Why is the city waiting to rent those hangars until they figure out what the lease is for private hangars? Am I making sense? What does waiting to charge somebody for a rental hangar per month have to do with why we're waiting to do that until we get the lease stuff situated?
Possibly to ensure that the footprint equivalent, that what you would pay for the same size hangar for the footprint lease to build your own hangar is coming out of income from the city-owned hangar. And if you're getting a lot less income from the city-owned hangar space, footprint, whatever that is, then you would get, if it was a privately owned hangar, you want to know that and maybe make those a little bit more parallel.
But wouldn't you like to get some kind of money coming in? You know, there's
Yeah.
what, I think in the last meeting I read, it was something
Something
like,
is better than nothing.
yeah.
No, I think that your point is taken, but I think your point is, we just really want to get good at what we're doing and then put that on paper.
That's my goal.
And some of those.
That way everybody's in
know what
agreement.
that's doing. Some of those city hangars are like the dirt floors, obviously aren't gonna rent the same as ski hangars that are electricity and
Yes.
concrete and stuff like that.
And sometimes a nice dance
That's the
room.
nice thing, that trying to set, just out there by yourself, setting a rental price and stuff, yeah.
But a rental price is already set because you have people already in those hangars that are renting.
Yes, but the local, but it's just like housing, right? When you go to a local area, if there's a excess housing, then you're not gonna be able to charge San Francisco prices where you can't get
Yeah,
a flat in San Francisco, right? And I think that what got us all to show up is that when you guys said, I'm sorry, not you, when the rental agreement said 80 cents based on
agreement.
San Francisco prices, it's like, well, we have abandoned airports here that we there's space. There's nothing in the free market economy driving 80 cents. And you can get 11 cents or 19 cents in Visalia. Visalia has an ILS, lit runway, right? All kinds of services, 6 mechanics on the field, a terminal, a nice pilot lounge, right? I mean, that's typically what you're paying for, right? Is the level of service that if I break in Visalia, I know I can just shut my airplane down. Right? If I break here, he's not available. I need to find somebody to come onto the field for the city, which. All right. Fernando, did we get clear input on number 2?
I think we've had that and then some. So, again, this is just gonna be, another, I mean, I don't know if this is an item that you guys wanna come back to later on, or if we've already kind of put that already to an end. So again, this is you guys' committee, how you wanna structure that is up to you. I think staff has gotten quite a bit of information to lead with on, well, for one, apparently the FAA, having what is it, pretty much the say all, the say of what can be permitted on an airport and whatnot. And then to, Mr. Shaw's comments about the medical thing. So I think staff can just kind of work through that and see what we can do on our end.
And so the basic standard is, do you have an airplane registered that exists that's either in the hangar or is registered to live in the hangar, right? So there are days where you go to my hangar and the airplane will not be there because I used it to go someplace, right? And then a week later, it's back in my hangar because it comes back. So the airplane lives there the majority of the time, but there are times where it's not there, right? So it's like, yeah,
But see, that's not an aviation business. That's aviation activity, non-aviation activity. So like non-aviation business, I think kind of what they're saying is, should we ask council to maybe see if we can get away with asking the FAA that allow elephant in the room, green power, that's strictly non-aviation that was operating out there. Should we ask the FAA to say, hey, can we allow that to happen?
but they have registered airplanes in those hangars.
Huh?
They have registered airplanes.
Green power?
So what's his name?
No,
But there's
Talking green power.
Right.
Yes.
the bus there.
Yeah.
Right, but are those airplanes that are sitting out there, are they registered?
There's no airplanes out there.
The one down at the,
Oh, you're talking about the end. Okay.
They did have a Aero Commander in and amongst those buses for a couple of years.
I don't know what's in there. I mean, that's for the city. I thought you were talking about the one behind you where they have like.
No, I'm talking green power. That's not green power.
Stop farther down the, lane.
Yeah. So I think what this is asking is, can you go to as the committee here, should we think about asking the FAA to allow non-aviation businesses if the FAA would grant permission to allow that to happen
Inside the fence there.
inside the fenced area? My opinion is no. I think I would, and I know mine doesn't matter, but I guess how do we address and ask is, hey, council, don't allow it to happen.
And another issue.
Well,
might have is
the
there-
council wouldn't be able, without FFA approval, we couldn't, right, Fred?
You would jeopardize your grants.
Yeah.
Your grants,
Yeah.
the FAA would withhold your grants.
Because the only other issue I see is them bringing those logos in there all the time.
Self-inflicted, wound inflicting,
They're
to do
gonna
that.
tear up the runways, they're gonna tear up the not the runways, but the taxiways. Those big landalls that they bring in there, it's gonna tear up the asphalt out.
When they bring in the new buses.
Yeah, they trailer in there.
I mean, that's
But
definitely
they could
something.
have an airplane. Nobody knows that.
I could.
Yeah, I mean. It's not there all the time. Maybe it's there. We don't. That would be something you'd have to
You'd have to ask. them.
ask,
And that's
you
stretching the truth. Well, the truth is they could have an airplane in there, but it's not aviation.
Should they still be
Activity.
operating?
That's the same case with everybody then. I mean, anybody can say, I got a propeller. There is an airplane. I mean. Where do we draw the line?
No, yeah,
That's on the
yeah,
business
yeah.
side, that's on the commercial
Yeah,
side.
so the
I mean,
line,
the
the FAA,
private
the way
side
they
is
see it,
different.
it's not a hard thing to meet, right?
Yeah.
Airplane in hangar, dude, you got two hangars, you have two airplanes, yeah, one lives there, one lives there. Right, that's typically the threshold, it's not a,
And the airplane should be registered to Green Power and not
yeah.
just some broke and pushed a plane in there. Keep their business open.
That's for the city, I mean, that's a dirty one for you. to
Yeah,
do.
but that's what subject matters right here is just talking about aviation business and so on.
Yeah, it's,
More activity and stuff. Aviation activity.
so what happened in the place I came from, somebody called it, the FAA showed up. And they started going, hey, open this up, show me what's in it. And then, oh, it's not the one, right? And so then the FAA went back and wrote a letter to the city, which is like line by line, hey, you're doing this, not compliant, you're doing this, not compliant. You have 6 months to fix it, or your grant goes away.
Yeah. I mean, we all know, everybody here in this room, all these members have planes. We know they have planes. That's not the issue. The problem is those that don't. They're using hangars for storage files.
So I mean, I'm not familiar with the whole green power thing, how they got in there.
That was before my time, but that's, I'm learning. I'm on my list to look, follow one.
That's a discussion for sure. But I mean, they could jeopardize your grant. So if the FAA comes, that could be something that the FAA asks you to take action.
But you said it's back to if you can make it attractive enough to bring more airplanes in here, then it's.
Yeah.
But if you don't do that, then
There's ways, there's things we can recommend to take action on to generate that. Some of it is gonna be competitive expense. Affordable insurance policies that are easy to get, but are not non-standard kind of thing. Which that means the city does have to assume some risk, but that's assuming risk is required, like. But you use your risk management to make sure it's smart risk.
the lights are looking good though.
Yeah.
We're working on this.
With like-
Thank you.
Really good.
We're working on things as much as we can as fast as.
Looked around all night.
It's
sunny out here. What, things were a little bit lighter?
Very nice.
Fernando, how do we get things onto the next month's agenda?
So typically, during other matters, somebody can make a motion to, add to the next meeting an item. And if if committee would have to agree to that as a whole. That's one way to do it. Another way is just simply whenever, before the agenda is posted, you reach out to like the chair and then the chair can go ahead and discuss that with us to put it on the agenda.
I would like to make a motion to put an item on the agenda that provides suggestions to the city council on ways to make Porterville attractive, to bring in commerce, business, and more activity and get more income out of the airport.
Do I have a second?
I don't think.
That's it.
All in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Hi.
All opposed? Motion passes. That's what? 8-1.
8-1.
Okay, we'll go ahead and add that to the next agenda. Since we're already since we already had like some of the discussion on the ground lease agreement, that's kind of a ever evolving thing. That's probably most likely what you're gonna see on the next committee meeting as well. Is there anything else that the committee to introduce? Anybody, this is right now, we're essentially at other matters. You can speak freely on anything.
If you're looking at policy that talks about the leases, isn't there something I remember, I just got done doing a fury of watching these meetings and,
I think
there's like a policy that has something to do, there's something about a policy that has to do with the leases,
So what Fernando's proposing is that he's gonna take all of our comments, he's gonna put them into a single document. He's gonna socialize them throughout the city management structure. They will provide feedback. And then those policy feedbacks will come back on the next meeting.
I thought there was a policy, city policy tied to the lease right now, currently, or trying to get one. That was like presented
Are you talking
on
about,
February 18th.
are you talking about what was, like, when we got into the discussion of the insurance policy itself, or? Or are you talking about the rules and regulations for the airport?
It's probably, well, I don't know even if it's, I don't even know if it's rules and regulations. It's, I thought it was something, it was just policy.
Is it policies that the airport, the Porterville Municipal Airport has to follow for having like?
No, the policies that you have to follow for your lease.
I'm not-
Well, the lease
Yeah,
is.
I'll have to go.
Oh, yeah, the lease agreement would be
Yeah, the
the,
lease is the policy.
Okay. I'll have to go and,
Once you get it fine tuned and get all the numbers done, that would be the lease of the term. And
The policies.
is there a list of rules and regulations for the airport?
so technically, there is a rules and regulations, that was adopted by ordinance way back when. I think I introduced Mr. Berrigan over here and, I didn't even know that existed, to be completely honest. It wasn't until I looked into it a little further, but there is an actual, I don't know if anybody's even seen this before. It's rules and regulations, that the council back in, I don't know, doesn't even have a date. Oh, on the cover page.
Cover.
April 2004, that they adopted that essentially, I believe it was by ordinance, so it's part of our city code right now. I don't know if anybody's seen that.
Anybody else, anybody seen that?
No.
Does anybody want a copy of the ordinance sent to them?
Suggest
So they
it.
can kind of see that?
Send one out.
Okay, I can go ahead and-
Have an extra one in the office.
I just sent it out to everybody.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and send that
Refer
to
to it
everybody.
wherever they want.
Nobody have it. Thank you.
Good point, Chris. I did not know that existed.
I still thought there was something else, but like I said, I'll have to go through.
Yeah, just let me
What I'm
know, and just for, let you guys know, anytime you guys need, like, if you guys have a question about records, I am that person, so if there's something that you might want to see or something or whatever, just request it from me. If it's subject to disclosure, so.
So on the August 13th meeting that we had, I think we've kind of beaten it, and we're still not anywhere with it. He said that we would have answers as to when and why that 2 million. So I know that we discussed that. And then he also said that we were gonna have, and I have to go look at my notes again, something about parking information. You're gonna provide more information on the Brown Act. And something here to do with the liability portion. Is any of this ringing a bell? And one last
So,
thing, the agenda item was gonna see the master plan, the airport master plan.
Yeah,
not No
so-
layout, the master plan.
okay, so this is gonna be one of those things where the committee needs to find out, okay, what's your guys' priorities? What do you guys wanna have come back to the committee on a regular basis? Because if we throw so much at you, we're not gonna get quite a bit done. I figured, the lease agreement is probably one of the more important of all the other items. We can put a list down of items that, at some point we want to put together, and just have those on the back burner until we get to that point. But you are right. I think the Brown Act information, I want to say, did I send you guys an email of the Brown Act itself, or?
I don't recall getting anything.
I remember discussing it.
We discussed it ad nauseam last time, but the comment was it was gonna be provided just.
Yeah, I believe I said that I would email it to you guys, the actual.
Could you email that?
I'll send that.
Brown Act, you can Google it up and.
And you can see it.
Yeah, but the interpretation of the act as it applies to this committee is what we're really focused on.
Yeah, and that's gonna require more of a legal, communication from but again, just for the purposes of this committee, it is an advisory committee. There's a lot of stuff that does go into this as far as the Brown Act goes. But again, advisory committee to the council. We have to meet as a quorum. That's how we hold our meetings. They have to be publicized 72 hours in advance. They have to be open to the public. That's kind of some of that stuff in a nutshell. If we're going into like the weeds of it, it would require just a little bit more in-depth training. So far, I think we have been well established on the protocols and procedures that we've been going through. Most of our committees do kind of go through the Robert's Rules of Order as far as, we have a chair, we have a vice chair, we have motions, seconds, and all of that. Again, we're talking about a thick book of pages that talk about decorum and how procedures work and everything. It's easier for me to send you the documentation about it so that way you can flip through what it is. And I can send that to you through an email along with the ordinance. I do sit on a lot of different committees, so I honestly thought I sent that to you guys, but if I didn't, then I'll go ahead and get that going. If the committee does require or want formal Brown Act training, I would suggest that be something that, in conjunction with like the city attorney, to do that. Again, that would require her having to provide that training and cost the city some money.
I'm not asking for that. I was just asking, these were things that were said.
Yeah.
So even in an
So
email,
those-
even in an email is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen that. I haven't gotten any of that information. This other stuff here, the master plan that was gonna be something
Yeah.
that we brought. I haven't seen that. I saw the master layout in that.
And these
in the email.
are
So it's like,
these are items that I know we've talked about.
Mhm.
It's just trying to figure out through the committee, what is it that you guys want to talk about at these meetings? Because we can put all that stuff on, have 5 items on there and then have a 3-hour session.
Yeah.
But it just depends on.
Because
on
it
what
started, the whole
priority-
thing started over the lease thing.
Yeah.
yeah, and that's
the most
right.
important. I mean, that's the bone of contention.
Yeah.
Most everything, that's the high priority. So that's why I want to get through this.
Yeah, and that's why I said nay on
Yeah.
the thing that
And
you
then we-
brought up
and then we
about.
can start,
Well, that's the.
rounding up the rest of
For
her.
next one,
You
yeah.
know?
And so we will continue, like Fernando said, we'll continue to hack on this. But the master plan, the initiatives and incentives to get people here, they would be great for the master plan
Yeah.
revision.
And again, this is your guys' committee. How you guys want that structured as far as what items you want to be brought forward. That's you guys', just remember, the more items you have, the less you have time because these are only, once a month meetings. So it just depends on how you guys want to do that.
So we're right at the 1 hour point. So with a motion, anybody have anything else they want to say? Motion to adjourn?
Meetings adjourned at 5:28 p.m.
Third that motion. Emotion.
And I put that in motion.
Rules.